There is a very specific sound that every kid from the late 90s knows by heart. It's the low electronic hum of a Nintendo 64 powering up, followed by the silhouette of a man walking across the screen, turning and firing. And that moment, you weren't sitting in a suburban living room surrounded by empty soda cans and pizza boxes. You were 007. Welcome back to Retro Dad's Gaming. Today, we're talking about the game that didn't just define a console, it defined a decade of friendships. We're talking about GoldenEye 007, the game that turned couch co-op into couch chaos, and the game that taught us that no Oddjob was the first and most important rule of any household. If you remember the smell of a hot N64 power brick and the struggle of playing on a 4-way split screen on a 14-inch TV, this one is for you. Let's start with a bit of reality. GoldenEye 007 should have been a disaster. It was a licensed movie game, which in the 90s was usually a kiss of death. It came out 2 years after the movie left theaters, and to top it off, it was a first-person shooter on a console. Before 1997, shooters belonged to the PC. They're for people with keyboards, mice, and expensive rigs. The idea of playing a precise FPS with a 3-prong controller that looked like a spaceship was laughable. But Rare did the impossible. They didn't just port a shooter, they built one from the ground up for the N64. They gave us sniper rifles that actually zoomed. They gave us stealth mechanics. They gave us guards that reacted when you shot them in the foot. It felt real. For a generation of kids used to 2D sprites, GoldenEye was the moment we realized that consoles could do adult gaming. But let's be honest, while the campaign was great, we aren't here for the dam or the facility. We're here for the multiplayer. GoldenEye multiplayer wasn't just a game mode, it was a religion. This was before the internet took over our social lives. If you wanted to play your friends, they had to be in the room. You had to look them in the eye when you planted a proximity mine on the body armor. The maps are burned into our collective retinas. The complex with its confusing ramps. The archives with its tight corners. The temple with its sniping spots. We played until our thumbs were blistered and the sun was coming up. And because the screen was split into 4 tiny squares, we all became masters of screen peeking. Don't lie, you did it, we all did it. It was the only way to survive. Every GoldenEye household had its own set of unwritten laws. Law number 1, no Oddjob. If you picked the short guy who was essentially a foot shorter than everyone else's crosshairs, you were legally allowed to be kicked out of the house. It was the original game-breaking exploit. Law number 2, no proximity mine camping in the vents of the facility. Law number 3, slappers only is a joke until someone actually wins, and then it's the most intense game mode ever conceived. These rules weren't in the manual. They were forged in the fire of sibling rivalries and basement disputes. GoldenEye was the first game that taught us about game balance, not because the developers balanced it, but because we, as players, had to create a code of honor just to keep the peace. Now, let's look at the retro dad side of this. Many of us have recently revisited GoldenEye because it finally landed on the Switch and Xbox. And if you're like me, you probably tried to show it to your kids. And let's be real, their reaction is usually underwhelming. They look at the 15 frame per second chug, the blocky character models that look like they were carved out of potatoes, and the single analog stick controls, and they ask, how did you guys play this? But then, you get them into a match, you put a controller in their hand, you show them the joy of a well-placed remote mine, and suddenly, the graphics don't matter. The chaos takes over. Seeing your kid get that same glint in their eye when they sneak up behind you in the library, that's the magic. It's a bridge between our childhood in the 90s and their childhood today. So why does GoldenEye hold such a massive space in our hearts? It's because it represents a time when gaming was purely social. It wasn't about XP grinds or battle passes or ranked ladders. It was about the 4 people on the couch. It was about the shared experience of a golden gun match where everyone is holding their breath. It was the game that proved shooters could have soul on a console. It paved the way for Halo, for Call of Duty, and for every modern shooter your kids play today. It's the DNA of the industry. But more than that, it's a time capsule of a Saturday night in 1998, where the only thing that mattered was finding the body armor before Dave did. Thanks for joining me for this debrief on MI6's finest hour. But I want to hear your war stories. Who was the Oddjob in your friend group? What was your go-to weapon? Were you a power weapons fan, or did you prefer the license to kill, one-shot, one-kill intensity? Drop your memories in the comments below. If you want to keep the nostalgia alive, hit that subscribe button and join the Retro Dads community. We're keeping the 64-bit dream alive, one proxy mine at a time. I'm Retro Dad, and I'll see you in the facility. Stay retro.